This is OneWrestling.com, 24/7 wrestling news.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Big Ray's Wrestling Show. I am the Mark of the Masters, the man with the plan. Big Ray here to stay to talk some TNA Today Impact 6/13/2013. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the BFG Selection Series. We are now in Bound for Glory season. What this is basically a tournament of professional wrestlers, not sports entertainers, but, well, some are sports entertainers, but mostly professional wrestlers, ladies and gentlemen, that get together, and there's a structured point system for a win, by pin, for a win by submission, for a win by countout, for a draw, so on and so forth. It adds up, and at the end of the the tournament, the winner of the BFG series actually gets a World Championship title shot. So let's move on. We have Hulk Hogan, who starts it out. Hulk Hogan comes to the ring and he talks about, he breaks down the whole situation where Bully Ray was basically saved by his daughter, Brooke Hogan. Now, Hulk Hogan wasn't very happy about the situation. I think he wanted to kind of finish off Bully Ray, but the fact of the matter is that Brooke Hogan did make the save. Hulk Hogan this week decides to send Brooke home. So Brooke Hogan was not at the show today. Now Hulk Hogan continues to go on to the BFG series, and he basically talks about the people who already are in the BFG series, who have earned their way into the BFG series, like Samoa Joe, Hernandez, Jay Bradley, so on and so forth. And then he goes on to state that Jeff Hardy, since he won last year, gets an automatic bye into the BFG series. Now, this again is my opinion. I know the Aces and Eights are not really happy with the fact that they have to kind of earn their way in. I honestly feel that Jeff Hardy, storyline-wise, should have to earn his way into the BFG series. And again, you know, Jeff Hardy is basically the face of TNA wrestling at this point in juncture, but I just feel that he should at least have a match to try to get himself in, and I think you can make it a little more interesting. But anyway, he actually does get the bye into the BFG series. Hulk Hogan continues to talk about the World Heavyweight Championship, and then while this is going on, Bobby Roode comes in. He interrupts, and now Bobby Roode is actually on the same page that I am, and Bobby Roode, you know, puts himself over as the most dominant champion of all time. So Bobby Roode goes on. He doesn't think it's fair that Jeff Hardy gets a bye. I don't actually either. But Hulk Hogan says, look, next week is open fight night, and he's going to allow the fans, you guys, go to ImpactWrestling.com. You'll be able to vote on either who gets to pick their opponent for next week, who gets to make the call out, whether it's going to be Bobby Roode or Jeff Hardy. Well, Bobby Roode basically says that he hopes that that he gets voted to make the call, because if he gets voted, he's going to pick Jeff Hardy, and he's going to kick, as he said, Jeff Hardy's ass. Well, Jeff Hardy says, well, you know what? Just kick it now. While this is happening, Aces and Eights slowly make their way down to the ring, via the ramp, and they're basically, you know, Bully Ray cuts a promo stating, you know, same thing that I'm saying. Why is it that these guys are getting in and we don't even have a chance? Well, Hulk Hogan comes in and says, you're going to have one spot. An Aces and Eights member will have one spot. And we're going to have a battle royal. So you have to pick your six best guys. And from that point on, we're going to find out whether you guys can make it to the BFG series. So anyway, so Bully Ray, needless to say, is not very happy with that. Briscoe and Bischoff actually attack Jeff Hardy and Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode basically and Jeff Hardy start fighting him off, but then Bobby Roode actually hits Jeff Hardy with a cheap shot from behind, and he goes off smiling and laughing, which is the perfect heel thing. Again, I love Bobby Roode, one of the best heels in professional wrestling, one of the best in professional wrestling. And speaking about the best in professional wrestling, we move on to the Tag Team BFG Series match. My favorite tag team of all time, well, not of all time now, but one of my favorite tag teams, Bad Influence versus James Storm and Cowboy James Storm and Gunner, the tag team champions. Now, the team that wins gets 2 spots, obviously, into the BFG series. And I got to be honest with you, I was totally surprised with who won this match. Anyway, long story short, towards the end of the match, we have James Storm. James Storm is in the corner, and he's actually looking to hit the super kick on Kaz. Now, with the referees being distracted, Kaz is down on the floor. He's distracting the referee. Daniel sneaks in from behind and hits him with the belt in the back of the head, knocking James Storm out. And guess what? The dirty heels, not the dirty heels, the Bad Influence get the pin. 1, 2, 3. They actually move on to the BFG series. So I am very happy. I'm very excited to see that 2 of my favorite wrestlers in Kaz and Daniels are now getting into the BFG series, which should make it interesting. So this is what I think. I honestly feel that the tag team champions during Bound for Glory will probably hold on to the titles and defend in Bound for Glory. So if they're in a BFG series, they're not going to be able to really do that. So it's actually decent booking. And again, who better guys to have in the BFG series? Can you imagine Kaz and Daniels actually facing off? That would be a phenomenal match. Again, these guys are both great in the ring, and I hope they don't break up anytime soon. But all right, we move on. So we go backstage, and we see Crimson, and we haven't seen Crimson at the arena for almost a year. He actually comes to the ring, and he goes on a promo about 470 days and the number 12 and blah blah blah, and how this has been consuming him, so on and so forth. And basically the 470 days is how many wins he had, how many days he went undefeated, and the 12 is the 12 months that he's been out. So Crimson basically is not happy. He actually has a match versus Joseph Park, and he dominated the entire match, ladies and gentlemen. He dominated the entire match, Crimson did, until Joseph Park standing in the corner. Crimson going for, I guess, similar to a Stinger Splash, missing as Joseph Park moves out of the way. Crimson hits goes chest first into the turnbuckle. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Park gets the 1-2-3 roll-up win, or schoolboy pin win from behind. So Joseph Park wins, Crimson loses. What's going to happen? And now, I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment here below, onewrestling.com or YouTube/OneWrestlingVideo. I thought Crimson, number one, looked good. He looked well in the ring, and he cut a really good promo. And I didn't really see it in Crimson before. I actually think that I can see star potential in Crimson. I didn't see it before, but maybe during this time that he went away, he actually perfected some of the things that he needed to perfect to be more of an impact player. So what's your opinion on Crimson, ladies and gentlemen? We move on. And Velvet Sky comes into the ring, and she has a manila envelope. Now, in this manila envelope, she states that she has a special gift for Mickie James, something that's going to basically make her day. Mickie James, who is amazingly hot, again, that's my opinion, but Mickie James comes down to the ramp, and she basically says, oh, you know, she's so grateful, oh, you're such a giving person, you know, she's doing the whole, you know, the whole heel thing, which is great. And Velvet Sky basically shows that, well, she has doctor's clearance. That's what's in the envelope. It's doctor's clearance. It's a piece of paper saying that, you know, she can now wrestle. Well, excuse me, Mickie James says she does the heel thing, and she's like, oh, well, you know, you can get that on the internet, blah, 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 so on and so forth. You know, yeah, I don't think I'm going to give you a rematch. And then she attacks Velvet Sky. Basically, before she attacks, she makes mention to the fact that, well, this form was dated yesterday, so as far as I'm concerned, today your leg is still hurt. And then she goes after the leg, putting her in a leg lock submission hold, and the referees had to come in and make the save, which was really, really, really good. Backstage now, we move on. We have Matt Morgan, and he cuts a decent promo. Again, Matt Morgan, another guy who I think will be a future TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And he basically cuts a promo on how the 3 guys that he's about to fight have absolutely no chance. We move on to a big fatal 4-way match for the BFG series, and again, very surprised as to the outcome to this match. TNA did a great job in booking this show, by the way. Matt Morgan versus Magnus versus Kenny King versus Rob Terry, and again, it was a really good match. Towards the end of the match, all hell basically broke loose. Kenny King hits a spinning back kick. We have Jason Terry who hits a very mediocre Forgive me, guys. I don't like to criticize, but it was a horrible choke slam. He gives a choke slam, Matt Morgan, with the carbon blueprint, footprint, whatever the hell he calls it, the kick to the face. And then Matt Morgan basically goes after Magnus. Magnus pulls down the top rope. Morgan goes over. And then Magnus is able to hit the Michinoku driver, or I guess we'll call it the Magnus driver, onto Kenny King, and he did it really well, and he gets the 1, 2, 3. So Magnus moves on to the BFG series. So now Morgan, I have a feeling, is going to be even more upset. And again, I'm going to make a point about Matt Morgan in a couple of seconds, because now we move on to Sting, and Sting comes into the ring, and Sting cuts a promo, and he basically says how, excuse me, he says that he was upset that he was left alone. Well, it's showtime, ladies and gentlemen. It is showtime. And he talks about family. He talks about family like a mafia. Sting is bringing back the main event Mafia. Now, Bill Apter actually had an interview with Sting, and Sting did say that he was going to get some people that were going to come in and watch his back. So Sting bringing back the main event Mafia now. Back to Matt Morgan. I want to know who you guys think would make a great new main event Mafia. Leave a comment here below, OneWrestling.com, YouTube/OneWrestling video, or hit me on Twitter at Big Ray Show. Hit us on Twitter at OneWrestling.com or at OneWrestling. Who do you think would make a great main event Mafia? My first pick would be freaking Matt Morgan, because Matt Morgan has been screwed over by the system. Matt Morgan is hot. Matt Morgan is angry, and Matt Morgan is a 7-foot monster who knows how to work in the ring. So that will be my first choice. Who would be your first choice, ladies and gentlemen? Besides, obviously, maybe AJ Styles, but we'll move on. And now we have Eric Young versus Austin Aries, and before the Eric Young match, we had a long promo about Eric Young's fishing show, which I could care less about. And I'm actually going to move past his match. And now, actually, you know what? Eric Young wrestles once a month, if that. And gotta be honest, man, it was a really good match. I really enjoyed the match. It was a long match. I actually got a commercial break, but yeah, Austin Aries goes over and wins the match with the Brainbuster, getting the pin. We move on to the 6-man Battle Royal. Now, before this, we have the Aces and Eights in the back, and we have everybody, you know, Bully Ray giving them the instructions, and basically, well, Bully Ray wants to know if everybody's on board with their plan for the Battle Royal. Everybody seemed to be on board except for DOC. But he says, okay, I'm down, and everybody, let's move on to the actual 6-man Battle Royal, which was interesting. The guys all get in the ring and they're circling, and then you have Mr. Anderson, who's standing in the middle, and I guess Mr. Anderson is the chosen one to move on to the BFG series, and he actually points his finger like a little gun, boom, and Briscoe throws himself over the rope, and then anyway, basically, long story short, all the guys start eliminating themselves. And DOC's about to eliminate himself, but then he changes his mind and goes after. He goes after Mr. Anderson, throwing some heavy haymakers, but Mr. Anderson able to get DOC outside the ring or over the top rope, and then the rest of the Aces and Eights go after DOC, not physically, but they're like, you know, what the hell are you doing? We go backstage and we see Bully Ray, and Bully Ray appreciates the passion. Let me tell you something. If I was running the Aces and Eights and I was holding that World Heavyweight Championship behind me, I would want somebody like DOC in my corner, somebody who's not just willing to just bow down. You know, DOC actually, I appreciate the fact that he didn't just go over the top rope. It was good stuff. And but DOC actually says, talking about stepping up. AJ Styles is still running around, and I want to take care of him. So Bully Ray says, do what you got to do. Finish him off. So we move on to Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles in a great main event match. And towards the end of the match, the Aces and Eights actually go after AJ Styles. Well, they go to hit AJ Styles with a double clothesline, but AJ Styles ducks, and they end up taking out Kurt Angle. So AJ Styles actually attacks the Aces and Eights, gets him, outside the ring, tosses him outside the ring, and Mr. Anderson comes into the ring to attack, I guess, Kurt Angle, or I don't know who. It was just all hell. But Kurt Angle actually fends off or fights off Mr. Anderson. And while this is happening, he gets distracted. AJ Styles, with another schoolboy pin, gets the 1, 2, 3 on Kurt Angle, walks out of the ring. Now, Kurt Angle is left alone in the ring. And the Aces and Eights are probably really pissed off that they weren't able to get to AJ Styles because of Kurt Angle's involvement. Well, they start beating the living daylights, ladies and gentlemen, out of Kurt Angle. And who makes the save? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the main man of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, Rampage, Quentin Rampage Jackson comes down with that big heavy chain in hand, fending off the Aces and Eights. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Impact Wrestling. I thought it was a really well-booked show. I really liked how they pulled a couple of fast ones on us, because I got to be honest with you, I didn't expect the people who were going to win to actually win the match. So, very well booked show. Looking forward to next week's show. Fast paced, great matches. Ladies and gentlemen, I say this every single week. I would do this for a living, but if I can, I would do it anyway. Why? Because I love talking wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here every single week with my TNA Impact reports. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be gone at the end of this month for 2 weeks. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do any Impact recaps, but I'm going to see if I can go see Impact Live. I will be going to Florida. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us here at OneWrestling.com, YouTube /OneWrestling Video. Follow us on Twitter at OneWrestling, and follow me on Twitter at Big Ray Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope to see you next week. Tell your friends. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Peace.